Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Tori Sokol and today's episode is One for Champions. From MLS to UFC, HomeSmart Premier Living Realty agent and mixed martial artist Iaquinta sits down with HomeSmart Chief Industry Officer Todd Sumney to discuss work ethic and how he fights harder than all of his competitors in the octagon and in real estate. Check it out.
We have Al in the house. Thank you, Al, for being here with us today.
This is awesome. I appreciate everything. I've already learned so much being here. I'm a little, probably more new as an agent compared to everyone here, so I'm soaking everything in and really trying to bring everything back home, motivated, and step my game up for sure.
I love it. I wanted to give you a quick little background real quick about Al. So I got an email real quick. So Al was born and raised in Long Island, New York. Woo! We currently part of the Ultimate Fighter show. You're currently ranked number 4 in the world in lightweight with a 14-4 record. Known as Raging Al Iaquinta. Yeah, give that a round of applause. Right? Known as Raging Al Iaquinta. I got to dig into that nickname, how you got that. I love it. And one of the only, if not the only, UFC fighters to do residential real estate full-time. And he has inspired me, and we're going to dig into his mindset. And one of the questions that I just have to start with is, okay, so mixed martial arts at the world-class level, you fought for a title belt one night. And at that level, how did you get into it? And what made you say, why not me, and go attack this and compete at that world-class level?
I wrestled in high school, and then I wrestled in college, and one of my friends was into this UFC stuff that looked crazy and barbaric, and I enjoyed wrestling, but there's no next level. Either you go to the Olympics or you get a job and move on. But I saw this as an extension of my wrestling career. I could refocus my goals, and I thought that I had a very good chance of succeeding at it. Went down to the gym where I thought I'd go down and kick everyone's butt, and I ended up getting my butt kicked. So it was a very humbling experience. I wasn't as tough or as knowledgeable as I thought I was, and I really just dedicated all my time. I immersed myself 100% in the sport, learning every aspect. I didn't want there to be a single move that I didn't know. I didn't want to be surprised with anything. It was it's a little detail in a fight can make a huge difference in who wins, loses, and when you're playing the fight game, winning and losing, it means either getting hurt or getting a hand raised.
Exactly. But again, these UFC fights or the mixed martial arts fights, they're televised worldwide. They're on pay-per-view, and so many people, I guess they don't think they could achieve to that level. And the first time I met you, I was just impressed because Richard Raspentini, your broker in Long Island, had told me about you beforehand, but just your confidence and the level that you live your life. What about your mindset helped you then get to that level and keep rising and just not quit?
It's really keep going. You just keep going. I don't like the don't quit, because you're thinking in your head the word quit is in there. I always just keep going. No matter how tough a fight gets, I'm not thinking, oh man, I'm getting beat, because you're thinking you're getting beat. You think, in my head I'm thinking, oh, how am I going to win this fight? How am I going to win? Find a way to win. Win is in your mind, replaying over and over again. And I think that helps me tremendously in every aspect of my life, thinking that just repeating positivity in my head. But to answer the question, why did I even think I could get to that level? I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the most gifted athlete. But I think I work the hardest, and I find a way to win, no matter what the obstacles are. No matter if I'm losing. The title fight I fought against Khabib Nurmagomedov, probably one of the most dominant champions the UFC has had. I took the fight on very short notice. and went in there and I gave him everything I had.
Yeah, you did.
And right up until the end, I was winning that fight. There was no way that I was not going to win. I ended up falling a little short. I lost the decision, but it did wonders for my career just to get in there and put on the show that I put on in front of the crowd.
I was so impressed. Just the fact, I mean, it was almost like, seemed like to me like you only had 2 days notice. You were, normally for a world-class, belt or a title fight like that, you're preparing for weeks and studying what the other person, does, and you're preparing for that. So the courage that you had to do that and get in at that level, that spoke to me, and that was one of the things that I've just appreciated about you is your level of courage. But you just taught me just a second ago about how, in an MMA fight, one little move in 1 second could change everything, right?
Absolutely.
So the don't quit, like not even having that and have it to keep going.
Keep going.
It's a subtle little change, but it's very insightful.
No, thank you.
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And let's talk real estate for a moment, though. How did you get involved in real estate, and how did you get involved with HomeSmart then eventually?
I bought a house. I had fought maybe 6 or 7 fights in the UFC and saved up some money, and I bought my first house. A friend of mine, mother was an agent, and she was good. She took me around. She sent me all the stuff on MLS, but I was really doing the research every night. I enjoyed going on Zillow, on all the websites, and seeing where I could afford, my price range, and I was looking up. I was like, oh, look at that,
Right.
And I just enjoyed that process. And I saw on TV. I said, oh wow, look at this. A reality TV show, these guys, I could sell a house. They're just showing people 3 houses. They pick one, and then you get your commission. That's it. So, very, very similar to the way I got beat up the first time. I thought I was going to win. I was very humbled when I showed Monty 40 houses, and he still found something wrong with the 41st. But then the 42nd, he found that he liked. He referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody who referred me to somebody, and it ended up working out. But definitely a humbling experience in real estate as well.
So in your real estate business, how do you approach it on a daily or a weekly basis? So, and you're also, are you still training for mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I had two fights last year, 1 fight the year prior to that. And before that, I had a pretty serious knee surgery where the doctors weren't too sure whether I would be even fighting again.
Right.
That's when I remembered how fun it was looking for my own house. And I got my license, and I used that time to really just, like I did in fighting, I immersed myself in real estate. I was online looking at every video. I didn't want there to be a situation where a buyer or seller asked me a question and I didn't have an answer. I made a lot of mistakes. I made a ton of mistakes. And one of the biggest mistakes I made was I went to a different brokerage first, and they really just showed me the desk and said, good luck, really. I won't mention any names, it rhymes with Schmeller Williams. But I'm pretty good at finding mentors and coaches, and it goes hand. It's just life in general. When I started fighting, I started with a small gym. I learned a little bit, but I knew to get to that next level, I had to find coaches and trainers that have been through it, that have gotten guys to the UFC and been champions. So I found a gym that could accommodate that. I did the same with real estate. I found Rich Rasmatini at the time. When I first met him, he had been working within a different brokerage, but he told me his plans to open up a HomeSmart franchise, and I was impatient. I just joined Keller Williams, and I just went. I wasn't waiting for Rich. But when I realized it wasn't working out, I joined up with Rich and Stacy Cavalieri. It was the two of them and myself, and I just went to the office every day and just tried to learn everything from him. They were very successful agents, and I knew that to copy them and spend all my time. I was online looking at every video, everything, just immerse myself 100% in real estate, time, energy, there was nothing else. Eat, sleep, real estate, and that was the first 6 months. Pretty tough time getting off the surgery and seeing my bank account kind of dwindling down while I'm out injured, can't fight, can't make money. But real estate was something that I had to succeed at. There was no other option. I had to succeed because I didn't know whether I was fighting again. So.
Right. How did you get your first listing?
My first listing was, I was in the office and listening to Rich and Stacy. They had a million deals going on, and how do I do it? Rich, what can I do to get, how can I do it? You know, what do I do? He said, just the great step is go on your phone, text every single person. Just tell them, hey, I'm a real estate agent. If you're looking to buy or sell, please, reach out to me.
Right.
And I spent maybe 2 hours. I texted every single person, and then maybe 20 minutes later, I got a response from Tom, who I had gone to the gym with, and he was looking to move from out in Long Island, coming to Wantor, where he was living in Suffolk County, out on the island, wanted to move close to Wantor, which is my hometown. And I said, Rich, I got a text back. What do I do? He said he wants to sell his house. So Rich really helped me. He walked me through the whole process. And I was going away for 2 weeks. I went to Australia to do seminars and teach some kickboxing and enjoy the beach,
Right.
So I told Tom, I said, Tom, I'm going away. We'll do the first open house when I get back. And he was cool with that. He said, yeah, sure. But I'll put it up online. And I put it up. Rich showed someone the house. And the second day I was in Australia, we had an accepted offer, all cash deal at asking price. So I sold my first house while I was in Australia on the beach. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Right.
They weren't all that easy. I wish.
You take real estate very seriously, though.
Absolutely.
From what I've learned about you. And tenacity, you have a tenacity in the ring. And, can you tell everyone about how that tenacity, the title of this session, we kind of titled it From MLS to the UFC, all in a day's work. How do you transfer that same tenacity, that work ethic into your real estate business?
I see it's so similar in so many ways. In fighting, there's millions of fighters all around the world. And to have the skills to make it to the UFC, there are a lot of people that have those skills that never make it. Very similar to real estate. There's so many good salespeople, agents out there that probably are settled for average, and to really stand out and be one of those rock star agents, which I want to become, and so many people I've met and talked to here are, just really, to stand out above and beyond, you have to have something special. And a work ethic is something that gets you there quicker, and a focus like nothing else. There's a motivational speaker. I don't know who it is, but he says when you're I'm gonna mess this up, but it's something to the effect of you walk into water, and if you're walking out into the ocean, you start going down and you start sinking. The only thing you're thinking about is taking a breath. That's the only thing that you're thinking about. And I have that same, that first 6 months in real estate, there was nothing else but selling that house, just taking that breath. 24 hours a day, I was just thinking about closing that first deal, getting that first deal done, or how I'm going to, for sale by owners was big for me. When I didn't have any much going on, I would just pick up the phone and I would just call. I set a goal that I was going to sell. I was going to sign a listing agreement with a first sale by owner by the end of the week. I said, this week is the week that I'm going to do it. I must have called 150 different houses, and finally I got a hold of a guy that was trying to sell it himself. He had listed it with other agents, and he gave me the shot. He said, yeah, come down, let's meet. I was thinking about signing with somebody, and he gave me an interview. I did well. I told him about my career as a fighter, and I really hammered that I was going to work harder than anybody else for him. And he saw that I was young, hungry, and willing to work for it. I sold his house, and he referred me to another who I ended up doing an open house for, got a few buyers who ended up buying. So that one phone call, even though I'd made 150 before that, that one phone call really parlayed into something substantial.
Right. So did a little research on you online, and one of the articles was titled 5 Things You Don't Know About Al Iaquinta, and the first one was he is a professional real estate agent, and talked about your business and what you're doing. And I have to ask too, at the end of one of the clips, there's a news clip, UFC clip I think, and it was like, you'd just gotten done fighting, literally catching your breath, and you were like, they give you the microphone and you said something about helping people buy and sell. And, I just thought that was so impressive that was on your mind. And did any business come from it?
I did, a lot of, a few people have called me and just, they don't have anyone else, so they figure why not go with this UFC fighter? He's successful in fighting, why wouldn't he be successful in
right.
selling my house? So I definitely parlay it into, anytime I'm in the public, I try to give a shout out to the real estate and hope that people see it and want to work with me.
Right. So I feel a little bit like you downplayed a little bit earlier about the match that took place with 2 days' notice, because that was such a world-class event for a title belt, not expected, and just the courage alone it took to jump into that ring. So you're getting into a ring, no exit, 6-foot wall, against somebody else. And how did you have the courage to, with 2 minutes, or 2 days' notice, how did that courage, how'd you summon that courage to do that? I tell you what,
that walking into my first listing presentation was a very similar feeling. I'm almost more nervous now talking in front of all these people than I am fighting. It's incredible. But I believed in myself. I was confident. Although I hadn't trained for this fight like I would have if I had known, if it wasn't a short notice fight because his original opponent got injured. It was intense. It was intense. But I relied on all my prior training. I knew my lifetime's worth of training had led me to this point, and I believed in that lifetime worth of training. I think the same thing, I'm getting more and more comfortable with listing presentations, and I rely on the training that I've had. And so even if I get a call and they say to come over immediately and I'm competing against 10 different agents, I feel very comfortable that all my training I've learned from the best. I've put in more work than all these other agents, and I'm very confident that I beat them all.
Well, you do have 2 of the best, leadership in your brokerage. 2 of the best leaders in Richard and Stacy. Speaking of Richard can't be here today, but what's one of the biggest things you've learned from Richard about real estate? Oh
wow, I've learned a lot, but one thing that he's very the HomeSmart model is great because the 100% commission I can kind of play with commissions and beat other agents out and still make as much money as they would. But he'll always tell me a sign on the lawn is better than a sign in the trunk. So he says whatever you can do to get that listing, if you have to take a little bit less on the commission, that putting that sign out. He tells me a story about him, how he made a great sale early on in his career, that he took a listing that he didn't think it was going to sell. He didn't have too much faith. The homeowner it didn't seem like they were too eager to sell or they wanted their price, whatever it was. He wasn't too sure that house was going to sell, but he took the listing, he put the sign out there. A buyer called about that house, and he sold a house around the block to them. and it was a pretty nice commission. So I always think about that, just trying to get signs on the lawn, get it listed, and seeing what plays out. You do an open house, you can get some buyer leads, you can parlay it into so many different things. I think that's the one thing among many I've learned from Rich, for sure.
That's great. So looking at your future ahead, what challenges do you see with your business, your real estate business, your career, juggling both, and how are you planning to overcome those challenges?
Well, it's really goal setting. It's difficult when I have a fight coming up. I don't really go out and try to solicit more business. I kind of just let the deals that I have play out and close. But I think talking to a bunch of people here, it seems like I need to reassess my goals. I need to start working on a team, so that I can do my business while I'm training for my fights. Because when I'm training for a fight, it's difficult. I'm either training, eating, or sleeping. Getting out and showing a lot of houses and stuff is difficult. So this morning I wrote down, I added to, I'm always setting goals, short-term, medium-term, long-term goals, and that's one of my goals is to start a team that can continue work in the business when I have a fight coming up and can't be there all the time.
So fast forward to 10 years ahead, 10 years from now. What does your life, what does your career look like? What do you envision?
10 years from now, I would like to be, my goal, it's probably just about 10 years, the goal, is to live 6 months on Long Island in the summer, and then 6 months in Australia in the summer. So it's just an endless summer. They have opposite seasons. So once it starts getting cold, I'm going to Australia and I'm moving there. So I got to get this team, and owning my own brokerage is definitely something that eventually I want to be doing.
Australia's available. We can get you to talk to Brian.
But it's definitely something I see myself doing. I love coaching kids, and I think I'm a pretty good coach. I like to help people. So I'd like to help people sell real estate and pass on knowledge. But right now I got a lot to learn, for sure.
So what's your next upcoming? Do you have another fight coming up?
I don't have a fight coming up right now, but I'm thinking May is when I'll probably find out. I should find out soon, but I think May is when I will have my next fight.
All right. Well, Al, we wish you the best, and both in both careers. You, like I said, you've just inspired me just watching you have a no limits mindset and just achieve a level of success that other people think about but don't do. So thank you for inspiring all of us and for being here with us today. We wish you the best in both careers in the future. And
I appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like what you're hearing on The Real Estate? Tell your friends about us. Tell them to check out all of our episodes on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And don't forget to send any topics you want us to tackle to therealestate@homesmart.com.